So I want to give you some tools to take this gospel reading and keep praying with it through the week. So I want to give you two questions and an encouragement. So first, why are you here? Secondly, what is rocking your boat? And then third, the encouragement, let Jesus in the boat. So first, why are you here? Our first reading is awesome. I love Elijah the prophet. He's my favorite prophet of all the prophets because Elijah is zealous. He's a fighter. And just before the passage we hear today and just after the passage, God asks Elijah two questions. So Elijah, keep in mind the context, has just defeated all the false prophets of Baal. He's put them all to the sword. Queen Jezebel has threatened him with his life, and he's running for his life. And so he runs all the way across the desert to Mount Horeb. And he gets there, and he's sitting at the entrance of the cave, and God says, "Why are you here?" And so Elijah goes through his routine, and he says, "Well, I've been very zealous for you, Lord. I've been trying to do everything you wanted me to do, and now everything's a disaster." And so God says, "Wait there." And then we have our passage, and God shows Elijah all of these amazing things, a fire, a crushing wind, an earthquake. Sounds like the last week of Knoxville. But all these amazing things happen, but none of them are the presence of God. And then finally, there's this tiny whispering sound. And a different translation would say, not a tiny whispering sound, but a sound that was not a sound. Well, a sound that's not a sound is silence. It's in silence that Elijah sees and experiences and feels the presence of the Lord. And then God asks Elijah another question. He says, "Why are you here?" Well, that's a great starting point for all of us. Why are we here? Obviously, we came here to worship today. We came for Mass. We probably came to see some of the familiar faces that we know. Maybe there's some other reasons we came. Maybe we're looking for an answer to a question that we can't quite find. Or maybe we've got a hurt or a sadness that is just sticking with us. Or maybe we've got some anxiety. Or maybe we just don't know why we're here exactly. Maybe we're just here to see what we see and hope that something will catch our attention. But whatever brought us here, know that it was God. God brought us here. The reason why we're here is because God invited us. He reached out to us in one way or another. He tugged at the strings of our heart, and he invited us to come closer. And so the beginning point of why we are here is we're here to grow closer to God, to allow God an opening into our lives so that we can know and understand more fully the love that God has for us and what God's will for us is. And that leads to the second question. What is rocking your boat? Now, it's interesting, whenever there's a time given in Scripture, all the details of Scripture are important. There's no throwaway lines. The fourth watch of the night is between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. Now, I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but I would imagine some of you, when you're really anxious about something, when something's really working on your mind or on your heart, about 3 a.m. is when you wake up. And you wake up with all those things running through your head, all those questions, all of those anxieties. And it's not by accident. 3 a.m. is finally when you've given up control enough that God can get in. And that's why the fourth watch of the night is when Jesus comes walking on the water towards the apostles. They're in the boat. The boat is getting tossed all over the place by the wind. Their boat is being rocked. And so the first question to ask in that situation is, what is it? What are those things that are rocking my boat? What is it that's making me anxious or afraid? What is it that is causing me to be concerned? We have to articulate it. And then what happens to the apostles is as Jesus approaches them, the first thing they think is that it's a ghost. They're scared because they're not used to Jesus coming to them in the midst of their storm. But that's precisely where Jesus wants to be. He wants to be in the middle of the storm with us. Now, there's 12 apostles in the boat, and only Peter has the faith and the courage to step out of the boat and walk on the water towards the Lord. Now, granted, it doesn't work out the way he planned, but he does, for a period of time, walk on water. And I don't think we should skip over that. With faith in the Lord, he is able to do something truly amazing, but only with faith in the Lord. Only because of the power of Christ is Peter able to ignore the storm and walk towards Jesus. Now, when Peter fails, when he doubts, when he experiences fear, of course, he falls into the water. But he says a beautiful prayer, and it's easy to remember. Lord, save me. So you can bank that one. Hold on to that one. You can use it anytime you want. It's free of charge. Lord, save me. If you don't know what else to say, that works really well, because look what happens. Immediately, now that's an important word, immediately Jesus reaches out and grabs a hold of Peter. It doesn't say he got around to it. It says immediately Jesus reached out and grabbed Peter and brought him back into the boat. Now, that's the last part. So many times we think we are alone. So many times we think we're doing this by ourselves. And when we do, our boat gets rocked. It's only when Jesus gets into the boat with the apostles that the storm dies down. The peace only comes when Jesus is in the boat. And so if we don't let him in the boat, the storm still rages around us. If we don't let him in the boat, the storm still seems to threaten to destroy us. And we've watched this week what the winds can do, right? We've watched wind twist enormous old trees into splinters. And so the storm is scary. There's no doubt the storm is threatening. But when we let Jesus into the boat, there is a peace that doesn't come any other way. And so if we desire that peace, we have to invite him into the boat with us. Now, I have to warn you, if you let him in the boat, he's going to tell you how to fish. He's going to tell you which way to row. He's going to tell you all kinds of things that you may not want to hear. But I guarantee you that peace will remain. And so the invitation is, take this gospel, go back with it through the week. Ask yourself the question, why are you here? Why is this important to you? Ask yourself the question, what is rocking your boat? What is it that's got you anxious or afraid or concerned or upset or sad or angry? What's rocking your boat? And invite Jesus to join you in that boat.